Tampa Tony, king of Jukin City. I just jumped off the porch with dirty glove bastards.
I'ma throw a bang roll on her, ayy. I'ma throw a bang roll on her, ayy. I'ma throw a bang roll on her, ayy.
All right, so we got Tampa Tony off the porch with us today.
Yeah, on the porch. I'm on the porch, man.
Yeah, how you feeling today, man?
I'm feeling great, man.
Yeah.
Feeling great, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming by today, man.
Man, beautiful.
I've been looking
day.
forward for this one for a minute. So.
Yeah, man, like it's like when I got out, it was like, you know, learning the Instagram and we going back and forth on Instagram. I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? So
it's all about perfect timing.
It's perfect timing, man. It's perfect timing, man.
All right, so Tampa native, right?
Yeah.
What part of the city you from?
Man, really the whole Tampa, man. Out of state, everywhere in Tampa. But I was kind of like, I got my movement from Progress Village.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it's like the country part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that Tampa's changed much since when you were younger to today?
Oh, Tampa has changed so much since back in the days. Looking at how times is now, comparing them to back then, it's more of a culture change. You know, like, you know, we was more of the dealers. You know what I mean? This generation is more of the users. You know? So it's a difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
At what age would you say you jumped off the porch?
I jumped off the porch at like 13. 13. Yeah, I had my uncle when I was younger. He was the weed man, so I used to run his bags for him in the little neighborhood, and he deal with a lot of guys, so he'll have me smoke with him.
Yeah.
So I started out young, man, 12 or 13 smoking. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Big Gip. He mentioned you in an interview once and called you the Big Meech of Tampa.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your lifestyle before you had went to prison?
Before I went to prison, I always been in the streets. You know, it just was a form of making money and staying afloat. After I came across the Splitta, I kind of like took it to the next notch. You know what I mean? So it was more of a, okay, it's time to take this thing over to the next step. So, cause I need money to invest in the Splitta, the blunt splitter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I kind of like took off.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Splitta, man.
Yeah.
So how'd you come up with this? And for people who may not know what it is, please describe what it is.
The blunt splitter is a device that you slide the blunt through and it splits it down the middle. I came up with this invention. I was in one of my partner's house. He was renovating this house. And we was back there smoking, just talking. And he was like, man, roll the blunt. But I'm so high, I got the tube and I'm just sliding the blunt back and forth through the tube, through a piece of PVC pipe. Sliding it back and forth, back and forth. And he was like, man, is you high? I'm like, yeah, I'm high. He like, man, roll up, man. So when he said roll up, it clicked like a light bulb went off. I'm like, man, if I put something in this, I can split this. So I'm stuck. So he still telling me, man, roll up. So I split the blunt and I'm rolling the blunt up. And now my mind is racing because I'm trying to figure out how can I make something to split this blunt. And I'm looking at the PVC pipe. I'm like, if I could put a blade in here, something in here, it'll work. So I rolled that blunt up halfway through the blunt. They passed. I'm like, man, I'm finna go. So you're like, where you going, man? I said, man, I gotta go, man. I gotta go. I left there when it spent like $150 in Home Depot. I bought like tubes of PVC pipe cutters, all the hobby blades, everything, paint, string, everything. I just said, I'm gonna get everything. I don't know what I'm gonna come up with, but I'm gonna come up with something. Got me a bag, locked myself in the room, man, and an hour and a half, 2 hours, I came out with the first splitter. I'm talking about, I was going through it, using the hobby blade to cut the little niche in it and slide the blade in there, and it was splitting it slightly, put it in there, and it got right. Perfect cut. And it was like, I want everybody to see it. So I made a couple more took him to a club that we called the New Lounge. And the guys getting ready to split a blunt, grab their blunt. Like, let me show you, man. And slit the blunt through and put it through with the paper, with the wrapper and everything. And the dude was like, T, man, stop playing, man. I was like, look at the blunt. He was like, what the? He's like, bruh, hold up. Give me one of them, man. How much them is, man? And I had like 20 around my neck. I was selling them for like $5 a piece, man. So I'm gonna tell her, don't put your finger in there. But you know, people
they get curious.
Don't put your finger in there. Okay, what? You know, so I don't have a couple cut, split open fingers. One of the franchise boys did it too, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, split his finger wide open, man, like a butterfly, man. Butterfly shrimp, man. Yeah.
This thing got featured in High Times, right?
Yeah, it was in High Times. I got a call from High Times. I was pushing it real heavy, and I got a call from one of the guys from High Times, and he was like, "Yo, I want to feature this in High Times. How can I do an interview?" I was like, "Let's go." He was like, "Look, what if I give you a deal?" He's like, "If I give you a deal for a whole full page and like 3 write-ups in that edition." So I was like, well, I'll take that. How much is it? And he was like, 13,000. I was say 13. That's a front page. He was like, no, that's not the front page. I'm like, 13,000, bro. I was like, man, hell no, man. He was like, listen, it would change the whole dynamic of what you're doing. It's gonna spread it like wildfire. I'm like, he said, look, this is what I do. He say, do 10. I say 10 grand. You're like, do 10 grand. And I'm gonna put it in there like 4 times. He said, I'm gonna give you the full page. I'm gonna put it as a new product of the month. He said, I'm gonna do you a write-up, and he's gonna put me in some other one. I was like, give me like 30 minutes, I'm gonna call you back. So I sat down, I thought about it. I was like, I'm gonna just try it. When I tried that, man, that really took it to the next level. Because my phone, because I put my phone number on the advertisement. Man, listen, man. My phone won't stop ringing. Like, dude, do it really work like that? Like, I'm getting calls in the middle of the night. Dudes from people from London, I'm talking about from all over the country, man, calling me, asking me, how can I order the splitter? So I started setting up where I start mailing the splitters out and all that. So yeah, it was the High Times was like, it was worth the 10 grand. Yeah, it was worth the 10 grand.
Absolutely, man. All right, so 2008, you get sentenced to life without parole, right?
Yeah.
So first off, what was your reaction when they told you that sentence?
My reaction was, man, I ain't killed nobody. You know what I mean? Like, who I killed? You know what I mean? For me to get life. Like, I have never been in prison. You know, I haven't been to jail, maybe like 2 weeks at the most time, but I never been to prison. So how can you give me life? You know what I mean? So he was like, hey, man, this is what they offering. I like, ain't no, not like a plea deal or nothing like that. He was like, man, listen, if you take the plea, they're going to give you life anyway because you're not telling. He say, so you might as well just go to trial. So I was like, then let's go. So we took him to trial, lost trial, was sentenced to life. So it was like a more of a, damn, am I like really getting life? So I was asking him like, well, how long is life? I like 25 years. He was like, no, in the feds it's until you die in prison. So I was like, damn, what I done got myself into, man? Like,
and this is just for a drug charge.
Just for a drug charge, bro. So I'm like, what have I done in order to, that was so harsh for me to get this, you know what I mean? So, you know, a lot of stuff go through your mind. You thinking, you like, man, you know, I'm finna lose everything. Money on the street, gone. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of stuff. I lost a lot.
Did you remain positive at first, or did you go through a rough patch? Or?
Well, you know, the first, it was rough. You know what I mean? In the beginning, it was rough. I can never tell nobody that it wasn't. It's impossible for it not to be. You know what I mean? You got to die in prison you got to be here for the rest of your life. You know, then while you getting ready to go, being shipped to prison, so you're trying to really understand how prison life is. So they have custody levels. You know what I mean? So they got like they got camp. That's what everybody call club fed. They got the camp. They have the low. They have the medium. Then they have the penitentiary, and then they got ADX. So I'm thinking like I ain't never been to prison, so I got to be going to the low. And the dude was like, he was just coming back from prison. He was there for the crack law or something, and he was like, T, let me explain this to you, man. You got a life sentence. You're not going to no medium or no low. They're like, you going to the pen. So I'm like, pen? Like what that mean? He said the penitentiary. He's like, I'm gonna just be real with you, bro. Get you a knife as soon as you get on the compound. I'm like, a knife? What the fuck? Like, what the fuck I need a knife for, man? He's like, bro, get you a knife as soon as you get on the compound. Like, get you two. He said, cause, you know, you ain't no telling where you going. And he said they rocking in there like that, you know what I mean? So I'm like, he like, yeah, that's the pistol. You know how you got a gun on the street? The knife in the penitentiary is your gun. So I'm like, I just got life. Now I'm finna be shipped to a place where you telling me I gotta carry 2 knives. So it's like, it was more of a mental battle, like, damn, what the fuck? Like, how I'ma balance this? You know what I mean? Like, the unseen. You know what I mean? So it was more of a journey. So when I got there, and he was explaining to me everything that was going on. Like, look, your paperwork, long as you ain't snitch, you gonna make it on the compound. You're a snitch, you know, they automatically they gonna stab you because they want to see your paperwork off rip. So I'm like, well, I ain't telling nobody nothing. So he was like, well, I know you good, bro. You got a life sentence. He like, and you went to trial, so you good. I hit the compound. That's the first thing they asked for, paperwork. So I'm like, I said, well, I didn't travel with it. Like, I just got off the bus. He like, oh no, somebody gonna come over and they gonna file the paperwork. And but before I said that, somebody came with an Ozone magazine. They came with an Ozone magazine and gave me, and it was like, man, his case right here, the whole case. Like, he don't need the paperwork. So I'm like, so he was like, bro, you good then? So then he was like, when you go to the commissary, I need you to get this list of things. So I'm like, it was like a $20 list. I'm like, $20 for what? He was like, the homie make knives, and he gonna come over there and bring you your knives and stuff. I'm like, so knives ringing like what dude was saying, because the whole time he was telling me this, I'm like, man, this nigga is full of shit, man. Like he trying to scare me or some shit like that. And when dude said, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this motherfucker for real. Like, yeah, so dude came over. I got the stuff from the store. Dude came over, and he bought me 2 knives, a plexiglass for me to walk the compound with, and he gave me a screw, like, hold up the rafters. It was like this. It was like an ice pick. And he was saying, like, this a bone crusher. This is what you need in the unit. You know what I mean? You ain't playing. We ain't Florida. We ain't playing with that shit. You know? So I'm like, man, what the fuck is y'all? Like, you hyped off this shit, man? I'm like, man. So it was like, it was I say my first 6 months was like a real, like, was a up and down time. Cause then in that first 6 months, I seen like, maybe like 10 stabbings. You know what I mean? I'm talking about, I seen dudes get butchered, bro. Like 7 dudes stabbing 1 dude. I'm talking about everywhere. All in the forehead, and I'm like, damn, this is where I'm at. You know what I mean? So right then I made up my mind, I'm gonna protect me. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, at all costs. Yeah.
All right. So Obama.
How
did this all come about? Did
My
you have to
president.
petition for this? Were you
Yeah.
fighting for this since you went in?
Well, I never fought for it. It came up and they had some attorneys that came out and I guess they looked through everybody's cases and seeing who would qualify for it. So they called a lot of us down to the cafeteria and they talked to us about it. And it was like, yeah, we're gonna go through it. We're gonna do another sweep. And it was probably like 200 of us. They were like, we're gonna do another sweep. And this final sweep, those gonna be the ones that more likely gonna get it. So they did another sweep and it was like 40 of us left out of the 200.
Oh, wow.
So, and I'm like, damn, I'm in the 40. I'm like, that's a good sign. But then they brought it like, look, y'all are 40 just at this prison. It's like, it's like 200 more prisons with another 40. So I'm like, damn, I'm like, man. So you're like, the likelihood of you getting it is maybe like 30%. So I'm like, damn. So I'm like, okay, I gotta try. So I tried. So 2016, that's when I was given the clemency.
His last day of office, right? Or
Yeah.
Close to it?
Yeah, close to it.
Yeah. So what was your reation when, you were finally told, hey,
Yeah.
no more life?
Yeah, it was so crazy because before I got the clemency, I had a weed prior. This is how they was able to give me life. I had 2 weed priors. That was like small amounts of weed, but in Florida they give you a felony for it. So they use these weed felonies like 1.5 ounces or 2 ounces. One was 1.5 ounces charge I had. It was just all in one bag. That was my personal smoke bag. Another one was like 2 ounces all in one bag. It was my personal smoke bag. They use these 2 to enhance my sentence to give me life. You know what I mean? So when I first came in to a guy named Robert Covington. He came to me from Tampa, real crazy dude, and but he was like, man, I'm a jailhouse attorney. I do this in the state. That's what I did in the state, and so I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm gonna get that life off you. So he filed some paperwork, and they granted it in 2009 for my state case for me to reopen up the case. So we filed other paperwork. They kept they kept putting it off, all the way to 2015. Like I think it was December, and the attorney, the state attorney, called me. Well, he called back and had me call him, and he was like, "Man, I got good news for you, man. Good Christmas." I'm like, "What?" He was like, "They gonna vacate one of those priors that they use to enhance you. They gonna vacate that prior." I'm like, "Man, I've been fighting this shit since 2008. Now y'all finally coming and saying y'all gonna vacate it?" Like, they're like, "Yeah, we gonna vacate it." So they vacated the state prior. So what was supposed to happen, because during this time, Eric Holder came in and explained no one should get 851 enhancement that's not tied to a cartel. And that's a non-violent drug offender. So I fit the qualifications for that. The 851 enhancement is what gave me life. So when I got this prior off, they were supposed to bring me back to court and re-sentence me. And once they re-sentence me, it would be like 10 years. So it would be like time served.
Yeah.
The prosecutor was so fucked up, bro. She was like, "No, I'm not bringing you back." And she just changed my sentence in the middle, just took me from life to 20. Just changed my sentence. My attorney was trying to go over her head to talk to her head boss, and he was supposed to meet with her boss Friday. Thursday, she changed my sentence before he was supposed to meet with him.
Shit.
Yeah, so it changed me from life to 20. So it took me from 20 years. This is the beginning of 2016. So it took me to 20 years. So they had to get me off the compound because my custody level wasn't high enough to be there in the violent. Only thing was keeping me there was the life sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent me to the low. So in the midst of that, I told the Clemency attorney, I explained everything to her, and I told her, look, I don't want to do the Clemency. I was like, because I'm gonna be in somebody else's way. I was like, do the Clemency for somebody else because I got this coming. You know what I mean? You know, just not being selfish. So she was like, you definitely can get that. She was like, that's nice of you to do that. She was like, okay. She was like, if you don't get what you're supposed to get, she was like, call me back. So when they gave me the 20 years instead of bringing me back, I'm caught blowing her phone up like, hey man, I ain't get that, man. But every time I called, she wasn't in the office. And then they rushed me off the compound and put me in a hole for like a week. During this time, it was at the last ending of the Clemency. Like they was finna shut it down. He was finna leave the office.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm in the hole. Like, man, when y'all gonna take me to the low so I need to file my Clemency? And they was like, oh, it'll be soon. So a week went by. They finally took me over there. So I'm trying to call. I'm calling. She answered, and I explained to her. She was like, okay, let me ask my boss. Can I get back on your case? She come back, she was like, listen, we got a day.
One day.
She was like, we got one day to get everything in we need for the Clemency. And I'm like, she was like, I need letters. I need the character letters. I need letters from people that's in there, your counselors, whoever you work for in there. I need all that. So I'm like, so I'm scrambling, it took us 2 days. So she was like, I don't know if it's gonna get in. She's like, I'm putting it in. So 4 months went by. They shipped me to a camp in Talladega, Alabama. And that first week, that Friday, they called me to the office. So I'm like, what the hell? The camp was so wide open. I was like, the camp, when I got to the camp, it let me know I was institutionalized because they got so much freedom at the camp. You know, they can leave off, you can see the cars. When I was in the penitentiary, you couldn't see no cars unless it was on TV. You ain't see no animals unless it was on TV. You ain't see the bottom of trees unless it was on TV. So it was like getting your freedom back, but scared, you know what I mean? So when I got over there, you know, they have cell phones, you know, they sneaking phones in, you know, the phones cost like, in the penitentiary, the phone costs like $3,500 for a little bullshit $40 phone. But over here, the same bullshit phone is like $100. So I end up buying a phone. So I'm calling, you know, I'm trying to learn the phone and everything. And so when they call me to the office, I'm scared now because I'm like, damn, they must have found the phone. Somebody done told me about the fucking phone. So the lady like, yeah, you in trouble. Yeah, you in trouble. You in big trouble. So I'm like, fuck, I ain't been here a fucking week yet, man. I just got here Monday and the day Friday and y'all calling me to the office. Then he was like, yeah, the camp warden coming. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, man, this take me to the hole, man. She was like, no, he want to talk to you first before they make any actions of what they gonna do. So now I'm sitting there. So then he come in, he was like, you Mr. Oz? I'm like, yes. He was like, your lawyer want to talk to you. I was I'm like, lawyer? I'm lost. I'm like, what lawyer want to talk to me? Because I don't forgot all about the clemency. I'm not even thinking about the clemency no more. I done got the 20 years, so my mind is set like, okay, I got 4 more years to do. So my mind set on that. So I'm not even thinking about the clemency. Then the lawyer, I'm like, a lawyer? I'm like, what lawyer? He was like, I don't know. You don't know who your lawyer is? I was like, no. I'm like, if you don't say who his name is, I'm like, my trial lawyer? I was like, man, that piece of shit ain't gonna call me, man. I was like, I cussed him out. I said, he ain't gonna call me. So he was like, so the phone rang and he gave me the phone. And she on the phone. Damn, I can't remember her fucking name, man. Her name is so hard to remember. But she was like, Mr. Halls, I'm like, this is the clemency attorney? She was like, yes. She was like, I got some good news and some bad news. I'm like, well, shit, go and give me the bad news first, man. Let me go get that on out the way. She was like, the bad news is you got 10 years probation. I'm like, yeah, I know that. She was like, well, the good news is you got the clemency. I'm like, what? So you mean to tell me I ain't got to do the rest of this time? She was like, yeah, you got the clemency. I'm like, stuck. Like, damn. So now I'm like, so when I get out?
Yeah, really.
She was like, well, it's a process. She was like, you can't say nothing right now because I'm calling you early before the media get it. So I'm just warning you. She was like, so just wait till after 3 o'clock for you let your family and friends know. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay. So she's like, you all right? I'm like, hell yeah, I'm all right. I'm like, yeah, I'm all right. Shit, I'm like, man. So I leave the office, so he shake my hand, like, you ready? You ready to go back to be a citizen again? I'm like, hell yeah, man, I'm ready, man. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm ready. I said, man, I just need some time to myself right now, man. So he said, go ahead. I shoot up the hill and go and get my phone when I got I'm calling everybody. Hey, man, I'm finna get out. I'm finna come. They don't give me the clemency. Yeah, and the first person I called was Headbuster.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had been talking to Headbuster the whole time. Like, Headbuster, I called Headbuster TJ. Of course, I called my mom. I called my kid's mom. But like, I called Headbuster first and told him. He was like, damn, bro. And I called TJ. He was like, oh, fucking right, man. That's good, man. And they were like, well, when you get out? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just waiting, man. I'm just waiting. They were like, man, you sure, man? I'm like, yeah. They called me already, told me about the clemency. So, man, it was a blessing, man. Yeah.
Understatement of the year.
Understatement, man. Like, for real, man.
All right. And before you went in, you had a few hit songs.
Yeah.
Let's start with Take It Back, Ho. This is a Tampa classic, right?
Listen, Dan, this is the truth about Take It Back. That Take It Back, Ho, is not my record. Take It Back, Ho, is the Underdog's record. The guy that used to be with me, his name is Smitty. He's the one that's with the Underdogs. Smitty seen that I went to jail, so he tried to recreate the Keep Jukin. So that's why they did the Take It Back, Ho, and it sound like me, because some of the samples and the stuff in there is from me. You know what I mean? So he, being a smart guy, instead of putting the Underdogs on the record, he put it's by Tampa Tony.
Okay.
And it never changed. When they tried to change it, it was too late. You know what I mean? So everybody think that's like, man, that's your record. I'm like, bro, that's not my record. They're like, man, hell no, man. I hear you in the record. I'm like, yeah, you probably hit a chance and some of the samples from me, but I'm like, bro, that's not my record. That's not me rapping on the record. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Keep Jukin' then.
Keep Jukin', man. Keep Jukin'. No Good. The record with me, Trick and Kaya, Jump on the Dick.
Yep.
The She Lies. Yeah, I had some records, man.
Were you even taking music serious back then?
I was taking music serious, but I was more of, I was doing so much. You know what I mean? The music has always been my love. You know what I mean? Like, that's my first love. But I just wanted to be, I feel like I was just ahead of my time because with the promotion, the merch, that was my thing. Like, I always wanted to, okay, if I hit, I want to suck up every little coin that's coming. So with the merchandise, with the Splitta, with the music, you know what I mean? So that was my whole goal.
What was the Tampa music scene like back then, and how does it compare to today?
The Tampa music scene back then, that's why I named it Juke City, because it was Tampa always been a party city. Right now, it's like an identity crisis. You know what I mean? Everybody trying to go with what's working right now. You know what I mean? So, but it is a lot of talent coming out of Tampa right now. A lot of, you know. So I'm still gonna open up my lane, reopen Juke City back up. That's my goal.
Did you focus on music right away when you came home?
Yeah. I think I focused on it too quickly. It's like I put an EP out as soon as I left the halfway house, and I think I never gave myself chance to catch up to the times. You know what I mean? To really like settle in and you know, get the whole prison system out of my system and stuff. You know what I mean? So it kind of like caught up with me. But now I'm ready. Definitely.
What's the single that you're pushing right now?
We getting ready to push the single with me and Mike Smiff called Blow It On Her. Produced by Make It Bang. And then like right now I'm working on some new stuff with Bolo, Freaky Freddy, Fingers. I feel like the newer producers, it's easier to work with them because they're doing the same type of beats. So I'd rather go back to the origin and dig up and recreate the sound. Yeah.
So you're kind of bringing it back to that
sound that I'm bringing it back to, And then if you look at the times now, look at the hottest songs right now. The Carly B, you know what I mean? The Megan Thee Stallion, you know what I mean? The City Girls, Pussy Talk, all that type of stuff like that. That's my lane. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's opening up right for me.
You working on a new project right now?
Yeah, beginning of the year.
Okay.
Beginning of the year, yeah. Gonna drop the new project. We're gonna do an EP.
You got a title picked out?
No, not yet, man. Cause I'm kind of debating what the title should be. You know what I mean? And I'm in litigation right now with the Blunt Splitter 2 as well. So if that happens to come before we drop the EP, it's gonna definitely be called a Splitter.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah.
Were you rusty at all when you first started back recording, or?
No, it was just, man, it was so exciting to be back in the booth, man. It's like it just flowed. You know what I mean? It just flowed, so it was easy. It was easy. You know, I just like TJ, when I let TJ hear the No Feelings, he was like, damn, bro, you ain't miss a beat. He was like, damn. And then he heard cause we had the No Man, I had the No Man with me and Cristal. He was like, yeah, that's a big record. That's a big record. He was like, yeah, man, you ain't miss a beat, man. So I feel like I'm still there. Yeah, I'm still there.
Do you feel like people kind of gave up on you when you were locked up?
I feel some did. Music-wise, I feel like the DJs really gave up on the sound. Because, you know, in that gap that I was gone, it was no Juke records that came along, you know what I mean? So it's like they gave up on the sound when when you play, you still have to go back and play those records now.
Mm-hmm.
So had you kept playing the records, it would be bigger than what it is. You know what I mean? Because now you're just playing old records, and it's the same effect that those records when they first came out. You still get the same effect now.
Yeah.
And because the whole industry is saturated with trap music. There's nobody outside the box. That's why when records like Carly B come out and certain records come out, it's easy for them to take off and be number one and set aside from all the trap records because everybody is in the same lane.
Sure.
Yeah, it's oversaturated with the trap music.
No, that's real. All right, what else is coming up for you, Tony? What else you working on?
I want to work on some movies, reality TV, Tax Bosses of Atlanta. I'm fucking with my dude right there on that. More TV. Yeah. More TV. TV, movies, documentary. I got a documentary I'm getting ready to drop too, beginning of the year. I'm trying to sit still so I can do the book. You know what I mean? So just to get the whole story of everything that I went through, everything that I seen when I was in prison and all the way up to now. So yeah.
All right. Any shout outs before we wrap it up?
Shout outs, man, Mimi, Shante, new management team, man. Love y'all to death. Head Buster, TJ, Mr. Mincy, man, great team, man. Bolo, you know we got some cooking, man. Buck Sosa, Juicy 2 times on the same management team, man. It's gonna be a big year next year. Big year for me next year. Mark what I tell you. And Dirty Glove Bastards. Yeah.
I'ma throw a bang roll on her, ayy. I'ma throw a bang roll on her, ayy. I'ma throw a bang roll on her, ayy. I'ma throw a bang roll on my floor, check.